Hello, hello, everyone, and welcome back to our daily Bible study. I'm going to go ahead and link our little readers. Anyway, let me send out my invites because I am switching the time today, and then we will go ahead and get started. So, unfortunately, the Bible is sold out, but it is still available on Amazon, this version that we're reading. So, let's go ahead and get into it. If you are new here, we are reading out of the 1 Year Bible. This is the entire Bible split up into 365 daily readings. Every single day, we have a portion from the Old Testament, we have a portion from the New Testament, and we have a portion from Psalms and Proverbs. Every single day, we pick up where we left off the day before. So we're not bouncing around in the Bible, although we are reading multiple portions at one time. They're not random. We're just picking up right where we left off, reading consecutively through the Old and the New Testament. Today, we're picking up where we left off in Genesis chapter 41. We are currently in the middle of the story of Joseph. Joseph is one of the more famous Bible stories. It's very interesting, it's very good, and it's heavy on dreams and dream interpretation. Something we talked about a few days ago was the importance of dreams and how God would often speak to people through their dreams, and how it's very important that you're paying attention to your sleep. Are you dreaming? And is there anything in your life that is interrupting your dreams and your body entering the dream states? There are certain substances that will prevent you from dreaming. And we talked about this recently because Mary Jane will actually prevent you from entering REM sleep, which is the dream phase of your sleep. So, not to shame anyone, but I would encourage you not to do that if you want to hear from God. If you're over here asking yourself, God, where are you? God, why can't I hear your voice? God, why are you answering me? And then you're doing Mary Jane every day. Well, you're blocking yourself from hearing God. So nobody wants to hear you crying that you can't hear God when you yourself are doing things that are getting in the way from you hearing God. And that's just the truth. You can be mad about it. You can be offended by it, but it is what it is. It does prevent you from dreaming, and it does prevent you, therefore, from hearing and seeing God in your dreams. And it is blocking you from hearing from the Lord. And one of the ways that He is most known to speak to you, this is not some made up thing. This is not some woo-woo thing, right? It's in the Bible over and over and over again that God speaks to people in their dreams. Okay? So don't be looking at people crazy if they're telling you about a dream they had, okay? This is it's one of the most biblically accurate things, okay? So let's get into the story of Joseph, the dreamer and the dream interpreter. And we're in Genesis chapter 41, verse 17 through chapter 42, verse 17. So one whole chapter. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, in my dream, I was standing on the bank of the Nile when out of the river there came up 7 cows, fat and sleek, and they grazed among the reeds. After them, 7 other cows came up, scrawny and very ugly and lean. I had never seen such ugly cows in all the land of Egypt. The lean, ugly cows ate up the 7 fat cows that came up first, but even after they ate them, no one could tell that they had done so. They looked just as ugly as before. Then I woke up. In my dream, I saw 7 heads of grain, full and good, growing on a single stalk. After them, 7 other heads sprouted, withered and thin, scorched by the east wind. The thin heads of grain swallowed up the 7 good heads. I told this to the magicians, but none of them could explain it to me. Then Joseph said to Pharaoh, "The dreams of Pharaoh are one and the same. God has revealed to Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 good cows are 7 years, and the 7 good heads of grain are 7 years. It is one and the same dream. The 7 lean, ugly cows that came up afterward are 7 years, and so are the 7 worthless heads of grain scorched by the east wind. They are 7 years of famine. It is just as I said to Pharaoh. God has shown Pharaoh what he is about to do. 7 years of great abundance are coming throughout the land of Egypt, but 7 years of famine will follow them. Then all the abundance in Egypt will be forgotten, and the famine will ravage the land. The abundance in the land will not be remembered, because the famine that follows it will be so severe. The reason the dream was given to Pharaoh in 2 forms is that the matter has been firmly decided by God, and God will do it soon. And now let Pharaoh look for a discerning and wise man and put him in charge of the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh appoint commissioners over the land to take 1/5 of the harvest of Egypt during the 7 years of abundance. They should collect all the food of these good years that are coming and store up the grain under the authority of Pharaoh, to be kept in the cities for food. This should be held in reserve for the country, to be used during the 7 years of famine that will come upon Egypt, so that the country may be ruined by the famine. The plan seemed good to Pharaoh and to all his officials. So Pharaoh asked them, "Can we find anyone like this man, one in whom is the Spirit of God?" Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Since God has made all this known to you, there is no one so discerning and wise as you. You shall be in charge of my palace, and my people are to submit to your orders. Only with respect to the throne will I be greater than you." So Pharaoh said to Joseph, "I hereby put you in charge of the whole land of Egypt." Then Pharaoh took his signet ring from his finger and put it on Joseph's finger. He dressed him in robes of fine linen and put a gold chain around his neck. He had him ride in a chariot as his second in command, and people shouted before him, "Make way." Thus he put him in charge of the whole land of Egypt. Pause. Joseph is coming straight from a prison. Prior to walking in and interpreting this dream for Pharaoh, Joseph was in prison. He was in the pit of prison. He went straight from the prison to being second in command to the king in all of Egypt within the matter of a day. Within the matter of one day, God took Joseph from the prison to being second in command to the king. And it wasn't through some crazy device. It was through a dream interpretation. It was through wisdom. It was through the Spirit of God. Joseph's connection with God, even in his lowest place, held him, secured him, and elevated him to be the second in command to the king. He didn't have to do anything crazy. He didn't have to build anything crazy. He didn't have to show up and do anything other than exactly what God told him to do, other than be close to God and reveal what God had revealed to him. He didn't have to prove himself and work hard for 10 years. He went straight from a prison to a throne room in one day through being connected to God. That's all it took. He didn't earn it. He just had to be connected to God. He had to be righteous. He had to be upright. He had to be close in spirit. He had to allow himself to be used as a vessel for God. He had to be open and sensitive to the Spirit. He had to hear God's word and seek God's wisdom. He was in prison the day before this. Just imagine that. Imagine that you are in prison, the lowest low, forgotten about. And within one day, God turns it all around. Within one day, God turned it all around. He redeemed all of it. He reconciled all of it, all that Joseph had been through. In one day, he turned it around. He dressed him in robes of fine linen and put a gold chain around his neck. He had him ride in a chariot as his second in command, and people shouted before him, "Make way." Thus he put him in charge of the whole land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "I am Pharaoh, but without your word, no one will lift hand or foot in all Egypt." Pharaoh gave Joseph the name Zephaniah and gave him a son, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On, to be his wife. And Joseph went throughout the land of Egypt. Joseph was 30 years old when he entered the service of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Joseph went out from Pharaoh's presence and traveled throughout Egypt. During the 7 years of abundance, the land produced plentifully. Joseph collected all the food produced in those 7 years of abundance in Egypt, stored it in the cities. In each city, he put the food grown in the fields surrounding it. Joseph stored up huge quantities of grain like the sand of the sea. It was so much that he stopped keeping record because it was beyond measure. Before the years of famine came, 2 sons were born to Joseph by Asenath, daughter of Potiphar, priest of On. Joseph named his firstborn Manasseh and said, "It is because God has made me forget all my trouble and all my father's household." To the second one, he named Ephraim and said, "It is because God has made me fruitful in this land of my suffering." I love this. God can make you forget all of your trouble, and he can make you fruitful in the land of your suffering. He can make you forget all your trouble, and he can make you fruitful in the land of your suffering. The 7 years of abundance in Egypt came to an end, and the 7 years of famine began, just as Joseph had said. There was famine in all the other lands, but in the whole land of Egypt there was food. When all Egypt began to feel the famine, the people cried to Pharaoh for food. Then Pharaoh told all the Egyptians, "Go to Joseph and do what he tells you." When the famine had spread over the whole country, Joseph opened all the storehouses and sold grain to the Egyptians, for the famine was severe throughout Egypt, and all the world came to Egypt to buy grain from Joseph, because the famine was severe everywhere. When Jacob learned that there was grain in Egypt, he said to his sons, "Why do you just keep looking at each other?" He continued, "I have heard there is grain in Egypt. Go down there and buy some for us so that we may live and not die." This is the most dad thing to say ever. Why are you just standing around looking at each other? I literally say that to my kids all the time. What are you doing? Why are you just standing here looking at each other? Get moving. Then 10 of Joseph's brothers went down to buy grain from Egypt. But Jacob did not send Benjamin, Joseph's brother, with the others, because he was afraid that harm might come to him. So Israel's sons were among those who went to buy grain, for there was famine in the land of Canaan also. Canaan, the promised land. There was famine in the promised land, guys. Canaan was the land promised. There was even famine in the promised land. Why? Because it worked together for God's kingdom, for God's plan, and for his purpose. Now Joseph was the governor of the land, the person who sold grain to all its people. So when Joseph's brothers arrived, they bowed down to him with their faces to the ground. As soon as Joseph saw his brothers, he recognized them, but he pretended to be a stranger and spoke harshly to them. "Where do you come from?" he asked. "From the land of Canaan," they replied, "to buy food." Although Joseph recognized his brothers, they did not recognize him. Then he remembered his dreams, and he said to them, "You are spies. You have come to see where our land is unprotected." "No, my lord," they answered. "Your servants have come to buy food. We are all the sons of one man. Your servants are honest men, not spies." Pause. Now remember, early on in Joseph's life, he told his brothers, "I have a dream that you are all going to be bowing down to me." And they were jealous of his dream. And once they were jealous because he was always also the favorite child, because he was born to Rachel in her old age, right? And everybody knows that Jacob favored Rachel. Okay. But because he told them their dream, they started to resent him for his dreams. The same dream skills and dream interpretation is now what put him in charge of Egypt. So the same dream that got him sent to the pit, the same anointing, the same favor, the favor that got him sent to the pit is the favor that made him basically king over Egypt. And it's interesting to me that he remembered the dream. This has been a theme lately in our prayer and fasting for my church, and a lot in our Bible studies, is remember God's promises to you. Remember the words that he spoke to you. God doesn't always speak every day. So when you receive a clear word from the Lord, a clear promise from God, when he moves on your behalf, at a bare minimum, you need to write it down or build an altar. The people in the Old Testament would build an altar. When the Lord spoke to them, when they encounter the Lord, they do a little rock stack, they do a little altar. So every time they passed those altars, right, because they didn't have a lot of roads, okay? So oftentimes when people would travel, they would use the same road, the same path, okay? So then anyone who passed would know God moved here. God was here. God spoke here, right? But it would constantly be a reminder anytime they passed it, oh, this is where God spoke. This is where God moved. And I think that oftentimes in our generation, we are a distracted generation. And we have forgotten, what did God tell you last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? It's been like 20 years between when Joseph had his original dream of his brothers bowing down to him. But he had to remember, oh, all this time, even though it's been so many years, God still fulfilled the dream. It just took God's timing, not Joseph's. "Now, my lord," they answered, "your servants have come to buy food. We are all the sons of one man. Your servants are honest men, not spies." "No," he said to them, "you have come to see where our land is unprotected." But they replied, "Your servants were 12 brothers, the sons of one man who lives in the land of Canaan. The youngest is now with our father, and one is no more." Joseph said to them, "It is just as I told you. You are spies, and this is how you will be tested. As surely as Pharaoh lives, you will not leave this place unless your younger brother comes here. Send one of your number to get your brother. The rest of you will be kept in prison so that your words may be tested to see if you are telling the truth. If you are not, then as surely as Pharaoh lives, you are spies." And he put them all in custody for 3 days. He put them all in custody for 3 days. So moving forward to our New Testament portion of the day, we have Matthew. There's also something special about 3 days. Oftentimes in the Bible, people fast and pray for 3 days. You will always see people fasting and praying for 3 days. If so, I encourage you, if you want God to move on your behalf, or if you need clarity or you need to hear from the Lord, fast and pray for 3 days. Matthew chapter 13, verse 24 through 46. Jesus told them another parable. "The kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while everyone was sleeping, his enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat and went away. When the wheat sprouted and formed heads, then the weeds also appeared. The owner's servants came to him and said, "Sir, didn't you sow good seed in your field? Where then did the weeds come from?" "An enemy did this," the farmer replied. The servants asked him, "Do you want us to go and pull them up?" "No," the farmer answered, "because while you are pulling the weeds, you may uproot the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. At that time, I will tell the harvesters, first, collect the weeds, tie them in bundles to be burned, and then gather the wheat and bring it into my barn." He told them another parable. "The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, which a man took and planted in his field. Though it is the smallest of all seeds, yet when it grows, it is the largest of garden plants and becomes a tree so that the birds come and perch in its branches." He told them still another parable. "The kingdom of heaven is like yeast that a woman took and mixed into about 60 pounds of flour until it worked all through the dough." Jesus spoke all these things to the crowd in parables. He did not say anything to them without using a parable. So was fulfilled what was spoken through the prophet. "I will open my mouth in parables. I will utter things hidden since the creation of the world." Then he left the crowd and went into the house. His disciples came to him and said, "Explain to us the parable of the weeds in the field." He answered, "The one who sowed the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world, and the good seed stands for the people of the kingdom. The weeds are the people of the evil one, and the enemy who sows them is the devil. The harvest is the edge of the age, and the harvesters are angels. As the weeds are pulled up and burned in the fire, so it will be at the end of the age. The Son of Man will send out his angels, and they will weed out of his kingdom everything that causes sin and all who do evil. They will throw them into the blazing furnace, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then the righteous will shine like the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Whoever has ears, let them hear. The kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in a field. When a man found it, he hid it again, and then in his joy went and sold all he had and bought that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant looking for fine pearls. When he found one of great value, he went away and sold everything he had and bought it." That's all for our New Testament portion of the day. This portion I've heard probably 3 times recently. And like earlier, I said, go back to the word that God spoke to you, because he doesn't give me very defined and clear words very often. Last year, one of like 5 words that he gave me was the story of the wheat and the weeds. Because as I had started this journey, there have been a lot of weeds popping up. And I actually told this story to my mentor because he was like, "There are weeds everywhere and they're drowning out our crop." And I told him, we do not need to pick the weeds. We need to just maintain our harvest and allow God to sift out the weeds at harvest time. But you know what we did? I'm going to be honest with you. We failed. We failed miserably, and we allowed those weeds to distract us and choke us out. We got so focused on the weeds that were choking out our harvest that we forgot to maintain and tend to our own harvest. And so it's interesting. I've been praying about this specific story, and I've been repenting, like, God, I'm sorry that I totally let the weeds distract me, even though you literally sent me this and he spoke it to me so clearly at the beginning of the year when I was going through some stuff with my mentor, and my mentor was like, "No, we need to pull all these weeds." And I was like, I prayed, and God, I received this from the Lord. So God has been sending me this story lately, and he's been reminding me of this to remind me to tend to my own harvest and to trust that God will handle the weeds. I promise you, God is going to handle the weeds in your life. If you start worrying about the weeds that are in your life and start focusing on plucking the weeds, you are not going to fertilize and tend to your own harvest. Trust that God can handle the weeds. It's nothing for him. It's nothing for him. It's better to let the weeds grow, to ignore them. They're not going to chirk out your harvest. Sometimes weeds are good. Sometimes weeds are good for harvest. Sometimes those weeds, you think they're going to choke your plant, but they're actually adding nitrogen. They're actually adding fertilizer. The bugs are distracted by the weeds. They'll eat the weeds instead of your harvest. But you are going to take yourself out of position. And this is what I did. I allowed the weeds to distract me so bad. I was so focused on the weeds that I forgot to focus on what God told me to do. And my own harvest suffered because I was so focused on the weeds that I sabotaged myself. I got out of position myself because I was distracted by these weeds. And I want to encourage you in your life, if you have weeds popping up, ignore them. God will handle them. If you start focusing on picking out the weeds, you're going to rip your own harvest right out with it. God will handle it at harvest time. God will send his angels to separate the good seed from the bad seed at harvest time. I promise you. So get back in position. It's not too late. It's never too late. Get back in position and start harvesting your own field. Start focusing on your own field again, your own harvest. It's not too late to tend to your own harvest, guys. It's never too late. So moving forward, we had a reading from Psalms for the day. We have Psalm 18, verse 1 through 15, and it's for the director of music of David, the servant of the Lord. He sang to the Lord the words of this song when the Lord delivered him from the hand of all of his enemies and from the hand of Saul. He said, I love you, Lord, my strength. The Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer. My God is my rock in whom I take refuge, my shield and the horn of my salvation, my stronghold. I called to the Lord who is worthy of praise, and I have been saved from my enemies. The cords of death entangled me. The torrents of destruction overwhelmed me. The cords of the grave coiled around me. The snares of death confronted me, and yet in my distress I called to the Lord. I cried to my God for help. From his temple he heard my voice. My cry came before him into his ears. The earth trembled and quaked, and the foundations of the mountains shook, and they trembled because he was angry. And smoke rose from his nostrils. Consuming fire came from his mouth. Burning coals blazed out of it. He parted the heavens and came down. Dark clouds were under his feet. He mounted the cherubim and flew, and he soared on the wings of the wind. He made darkness his covering, his canopy around him. The dark rain clouds of the sky, out of the brightness of his presence, clouds advanced with hailstones and bolts of lightning. The Lord thundered from heaven. The voice of the Most High resounded. He shot his arrows and scattered the enemy. With great bolts of lightning, he routed them. The valleys of the sea were exposed, and the foundations of the earth laid bare at your rebuke, Lord, at the blast from your nostrils. Moving forward, we have our reading from Proverbs for the day. We have Proverbs chapter 4, verses 1 through 6. This is a good one. Listen, my sons, to a father's instruction. Pay attention and gain understanding. I give you sound learning, so do not forsake my teaching. For I too was a son to my father, still tender and cherished by my mother. Then he taught me, and he said to me, take hold of my words with all your heart. Keep my commands, and you will live. Get wisdom. Get understanding. Do not forget my words or turn away from them. Do not forsake wisdom, and she will protect you. Love her, and she will watch over you. That's all I got for today. Thank you all for tuning in. Again, this is the NIV Daily Bible, the entire Bible split up into 365 daily readings. See you all tomorrow. Turn on your live notifications and post notifications. If you want to be notified when we go live, you have to go to our profile and subscribe. Click the little bell so you'll be notified. We typically go live around 1 p.m., but I don't know. God had me do it a little earlier today for some reason. I think I have something to do later. We'll see. We'll see where the Spirit leads. Anyway, parting word again. I really want to encourage you not to get distracted by the weeds the enemy is planting. The enemy can't take your anointing. No one can take your favor. No one can take your purpose. The only person that can take your favor or your purpose or sabotage you is you. The enemy is going to try, and the way that he defeats you is by getting you to get out of position. Do not allow him. Do not be distracted by the weeds he is planting, by the people who are copying you or stealing from you or whatever it is that they're doing that is distracting you. They're not going to take what God has for you. The only way you're going to lose what God has for you is if you get out of position and you fall for it. It's a trap, it's a trick, it's a distraction. Do not allow the weeds to distract you. Do not sabotage yourself. Do not get out of position. Keep doing what God told you to do. Stay focused. Stay focused on what God told you to do. He and his angels will handle the rest. Anyway, that's all I got. Bye, guys.